Regional District regular board meeting of Tuesday, November 26th to order. And I will start by recognizing that we're on the traditional unceded territory of the Comox First Nation. And I would also like to read Article 2 of United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Indigenous peoples and individuals are free and equal to all other peoples and individuals and have the right to be free from any kind of discrimination in the exercise of their rights, in particular that based on their indigenous origin or identity. And can I get a motion to vary the agenda for Director Lee?
So moved. Second.
Okay, so F6, F8, and G1.
Just gotta vote on the motion to vary.
And can I, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, carried. So we'll go to F6. And all in favor of receipt? Anybody opposed? Carried.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
You can still second.
I can still second, yeah, I can still second.
Yeah.
I can vote on it.
I will ask Jake to read out the recommendation.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So this is recommendation 1, which provides for a 5% rate increase for asset management purposes for the Black Creek Oyster Bay Water Service.
And any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And I'll get Jake to read the recommendation.
Thank you. So recommendation 2 provides direct staff to undertake a petition process to consider expanding the boundary of the Black Creek Oyster Bay Water Service to include those properties connected to the Watuka water system.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Moving on to F8, the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel.
Second.
And is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Which one are we on now?
We're on the,
Parcel tax roll.
F8, the recommendation, and Jake will read out the recommendation.
Thank you. So this recommendation provides for the setting of the date for the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel to meet and would also assign that responsibility to the electoral areas A, B, C, and D directors.
Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried.
And with that, if there's nothing else,
There is actually, we're on to G1.
one that's ready, okay?
Move receipt.
Sorry.
Nope.
Oh, sorry, there's no receipt.
No.
Move first and second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
And move that it be read a third time.
Okay.
This is CV, right?
Yeah, this is-
Correct.
Yeah.
I will put-
And is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you, Director Lee. And we'll go back to item B, the in-camera meeting, and I will ask Jake to read that in-camera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the resolution before the committee or the board is to adjourn to an in-camera meeting following the open portion in accordance with sections 91A, E, and K of the Community Charter.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay, on to adoption of minutes.
Adoption. Second.
And any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And is that, do we need to move for the November?
Move again.
Okay, all in,
Second, the other one, for the minutes as well.
thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay, we're on to delegations. And I'm told that our first delegation, Fred Bigelow, will not be able to be here today. So we're going to move on to number 2, the Forbidden Plateau Reclamation Society. Dave and Mellon. Thank you. Please come up to the mic.
Rick's name, Rick Sawchuk, President.
And Rick Sawchuk.
Great. We're just going to show you a quick video here and just ask you to pay attention because there will be a test after. So, Jake, whenever you're ready.
So if I may, I'll give you a brief history of how this occurred in 2016. Actually, my son built a home up in Fairbairn Plateau Way, and I happened to drive up there, and I was shocked at the mess that was up there. I hadn't been up there, so I learned to ski in the 70s, of course, up there, and as many did. So with my association with Ducks Unlimited, I was in Victoria and meeting with the ministers and MLAs. Happened to have lunch with Minister Mary Pollock, which is the Minister of Environment of the day, and I showed her the pictures of what the foundations of the wrecked buildings looked like. And I said, this is your park. Like, why is it not cleaned up? And I was unaware that Class C parks, there is no funding. And I think most of the population is in that case. They think it's a park. They think it's funded. There was no funding to do the work, and I said, but I'd been in contact. I had a hunch that might be the case, and I was in contact with some of my friends. I was in construction all my life, and my son's continuing in our pile driving and heavy construction business, and we have equipment and whatnot on that. We could put that to work, plus John Edgett, a good friend of mine, and Robbie Layton, and Mike Hamilton, and others I hoodwinkled into helping. So I already had that in my back pocket, so I said to the minister, I said, okay, we'll do it. We need some insurance, though. We really don't want to have a volunteer contractor going up to do some work and then be liable for anything. Oh well, boy, we don't have the way of doing that. So, anyways, the long and the short of it, we formed a society, a small society started in 2016. Needed 5 directors. I grabbed my friends and whatnot and had 5 directors and added Dave as a 6th director later on. So we started meetings and figuring out how we're going to do it, and we got liability liability insurance through the society that we formed. And the society's sole purpose, of course, was just to clean the hill up. Once that occurred, Waypoint actually was wonderful. They stepped up and offered to underwrite the insurance, which was great. And we started work in 2016, as you may have noticed, and worked on the foundations first. It was in the fall we started. Of course, one of the issues when you're working with volunteer contractors is you pretty well have to use them when they're available. They can't be pulling them off a paying job to say, go and volunteer and get over here and help us. So you're working that end. And of course, weather's the other thing, especially up the hill. You had to work around snow and summer events and whatnot with the heat and so on. So we did the 5 major building structures, because actually there was, beside the day lodge, there's the main chairlift, which had a lot of infrastructure in itself. There were 17 towers and a loading and unloading station. There was 2 lower chairlifts, or sorry, T-bars with infrastructure on both ends and in between, and then an upper T-bar. So there was quite a bit. Plus there was maintenance buildings. So that's the pictures you saw where the buildings were in the lower section, and we did that in 2017. Last year in 18, being such a hot summer, and with other, as I mentioned about pulling contractors off other jobs, we couldn't do that. We took some towers down, and then this year we really stepped up and actually we got Mike Hamilton, a friend of mine, and got him involved. And he said, well, hey, I got a spare excavator, grab an operator, which I have a close friend, a good friend, Kenny Grieve, and he's ran an excavator all his life, retired, and like I am. So we worked together with our crew. I'd call on Dave, I'd call on others to do the handwork and whatnot, because you always need other work in conjunction with the excavator. But Mike actually worked up there 28 days, and is that what it was? And Kenny Grieve is about the same, and generally I was up there with him, and Dave was up there, and Jim Barry, and as you saw on the list, there was quite a few that helped out. So it was a great project. We cleaned her up. We're pretty well, we are done, and we're just the society is just going to fold now because we've accomplished what we wanted. And we do thank the regional district for funding us. It was appreciated. We also got some funding from BC Hydro. And some others were some bonds, and also some residents actually that saw the good work that was going on. They said, hey, this is great, and they stepped up and gave us some donations. Did I miss anything, Dave?
Interesting fact, the people that are involved in this are still living here locally. Eddie Shum was a big help, and I contacted him because he was basically the general manager at Mount Washington for years. And he said, well, I know quite a bit about that. And I figured, what do you know about this? You're Mount Washington. He said, I installed that lift. It was the first chairlift on Vancouver Island. So he was a big asset, and things moved around. One of the slides, I don't know if you noticed, it said that the cable was cut. What happened was the kids were going up there. Now, appreciate this cable from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill is a mile long. It's a 6-strand cable, 1.5 inches in diameter with 6 wraps of cable around it. The kids decided they wanted the chairs for mementos, and they went. Assuming kids. Yeah, it might be one of you people in this room. Yeah. Anyways, they cut through that cable holding 132 chairs, a 2-mile-long cable. They cut through the four strands like butter, and then it exploded. And now how somebody didn't lose a body part or get killed is beyond us. And then we noticed as we were cleaning up things and they were demolishing the building the first year, Greg and I and others were walking up the hill, taking the clamps off and getting ready to pull the cable out, that, hey, there's less chairs here than there was the last time we were up here. And the kids would climb the towers and then suspend themselves on a harness and then pull themselves along and lower the chairs. That's how bad these kids wanted. Greg noticed the cable's not tied to anything. So we were clamping the cable off to a tower or anything we could find because the kids are going after it. Long and short of it, there was 132 chairs, and No, it's 132 chairs, and our society got 12 of them. And we're going to give these to different societies in town to raise money to auction off. We got We got a whole total of 12 of them. And I see my friend Paul here from Search and Rescue. About a month and a half ago, I believe, correct me on the dates here, a fellow was lost. It was overdue on a day hike up to Mount Beecher. And my friend Mike Fournier was in the command truck. And this fellow phoned in. He says, I understand you people might be looking for me. And Mike said, yeah, we are. Where are you? And he said, well, this is really weird. I had this beautiful hike up to Mount Beecher, had lunch, and I'm coming down, and I can see Comox Lake, but I can't see any of the ski towers. Well, Mike started laughing, and the guy said, like, what's so funny? He said, you can't see the towers because they're not there anymore. So already things have changed. But what has been accomplished is just a massive job that a lot of people had, like Greg and I both learned to ski up there. It's cleaned up, it's back to Mother Nature, and the only thing that's left there now, if you saw the archway there, that's at the bottom of the hill, and at the very top of the hill is the bull wheel. Other than that, you won't know that there was ever a ski hill there. So
Yeah, that looks like a
yeah,
really
so,
big job, and there it looked like there was a lot of hazards, so I'm sure we're all very happy that that's...
It's interesting you brought that point up. Yeah, it's unbelievable the liability that BC Parks was and Ministry of Forests, because there was just briefly, I always thought when I skied there in the day, it was called Wood Mountain Park, and I thought that went right up to Strathcona Park. Not the case. It's the bottom 80 acres was Wood Mountain Park, and still is. But between Wood Mountain Park and Strathcona is a significant portion that's owned by Ministry of Forests. And so we had to have a $1 contract with each one to do the work and to their satisfaction. But yeah, it's been completed.
Yes. Thank you so much.
I put
Are you
a
open to
invoice to get.
questions?
Sorry.
Are you open to questions?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just before
they're not tough.
yeah. I put an invoice together because I kept track of every day of who was up there and which equipment, and just using hourly rates for equipment, not contract. If it was a contract, it'd be significantly more. But just hourly rates on an excavator, on the trucks. Like for example, like Mike Hamilton had his excavator plus a off-highway gravel truck. He took you saw the picture of his skidder to pull out the 2 miles of cable. My son had his excavator. Robbie Layton took his breaker up there with supplied the man to do it. Actually, John Edgett was up there and working himself. He worked about 10 days, 10-hour days. Did yeoman's duty there back 2 years ago, and so that goes on and on.
We do have a couple of questions.
Yeah,
and I think
sorry.
been waiting
Thank you.
patiently.
So the invoice I sent in was $200,000 and said to BC Parks and the Ministry of Forests and the province of British Columbia zero, because that's what it was. Yeah, sorry, questions? Probably told you everything.
Okay, Director Arbor.
No, I just want to, I'm still waiting for that trick question from the slideshow. And I thought it was, how many slides can you see Hornby Island in those? So I counted and, but never mind. I really want to thank you. I actually drove up there last week, and I'll never do it again. I didn't realize it was such a long drive up the mountain. And you're right, the site looks pristine, and I was so impressed. So I really want to thank the volunteer effort that went along that and all the resources you guys brought to the table. Thank you so much.
It's interesting that, one particular day, and it happened on many occasions, but one day I believe it was 50 cars were in the parking lot, people recreating up there. So the improvement, we had to refurbish the old access road that went to the top to get equipment up and to bring the infrastructure down. And it's those that recreate there recognize what a wonderful thing it is, because now it's opened up for cross country skiers and snowshoers and tobogganers and it's just much safer now, and it's great for mountain bikers and whatnot. So it's good. Any other questions?
Yes, Director Hillian.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks very much. What an incredible example of community spirit. I hike up there a lot, and although I'll miss sitting and eating my lunch on the platform at the top, I just can't express how much I appreciate what you folks have done. When infrastructure is left to just basically go bad, people don't look after the place They kind of see the mess and they think it's okay to make a mess there. So you would see big fire pits in the parking lot there where people burned all sorts of things. And so I know now that it's been cleaned up, people will look after it. And I think it would be nice if somehow we could figure out as a community to put some type of a commemorative plaque up there to acknowledge the work that's been done by the people involved. I know you did it because of your community spirit, but it'd be nice if we could do something just to recognize the amazing job that you've done. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for those kind words. One thing on identification, when I learned to ski there was a significant sign there that said Wood Mountain Park, and we all, at our age, knew it was a park and still do, of course. But the young folks, and I've talked to many of them up there, and they're doing their thing, right? And I go over politely and ask them, I said, do you realize you're in a park? Had no idea. And I said, well, you really should be treating it like a park, not mistreating it. And of course they were apologetic, but no, they don't have a clue. So I've been stressing with BC Parks for some time. Put a sign up. I said at least people would maybe wouldn't mistreat it as much as it has been, and because it's a great asset in the valley, and like you say, lots of people recreate there and use it. So thanks for those words.
And alternate director Scoville.
On behalf of Area C, thank you very much. Fantastic project. Just one quick question is, was the society set up as a charitable society?
We don't have charitable status.
Okay.
We
Quite involved.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious, thank you.
And it was only a 2-year, and we did it in 2 years, basically. Well, 3, because by the time you get through the all the bureaucracy of getting get it established, and it was 2016, 17, 18 17, 18, and 19 is when we conducted the work. And we had insurance for that period, but we've since dispensed with that because it's no use in having liability insurance when you're not working there because we're finished.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And we have one more question, Director Frisch.
Yeah, it's not a question. I just, when you were playing the video, it kind of tugged at the heartstrings because when I moved to the valley, that was the first place I snowboarded back in the day in '98. And, it was a super fun experience. And I've since, mountain biked there a lot. And I've skied, run, and hiked from there to Mount Washington and know the area really well. So seeing it all that infrastructure come down is, it's emotional, I guess, for a lot of people. But it's also really impressive to see how much work you guys put into turning that back into what it really is, which is a beautiful natural area. So I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate that.
One thing, just rest assured, like when it was actually when it went bankrupt, when the previous Mount Beecher Ski Society went bankrupt, of course, no funding, and they didn't actually leave it like a logger would leave it, like cross-ditch the road so it doesn't wash out. And Mike Hamilton, who's, he's quite familiar with that, and a good operator, he actually cross-ditched the access road so that it'll hopefully won't wash out like it did, because if you recreated there, you know how rough it was, and it'll be much better for those that are recreating up there, whether it's skiing or cross-country skiing, that is, or hiking or snowshoeing or whatever. So yeah, it's great to have it. Then it stops the motorized vehicles. Just he's done a good job in blocking that one main road up.
Backcountry skiing up there is excellent. It's a great access.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a couple more questions.
Oh, geez.
Director Morin?
Great, thank you, Chair. Just another comment. Yeah, what related to what Director Frisch said. Yeah, I was sort of looking at it thinking end of an era, because I wasn't a big skier, but I was up the mountain a lot as a kid growing up here. And what you said about the youth up there, I know that they've been having some grad parties and stuff, and I had gone up there to pick up some kids, and I have to say they had cleaned they had garbage bags and they'd cleaned everything up, and I actually made a comment and I said, did you know this was like Mount Washington, it was the ski hill, and so many of them didn't know, except for the ones that were skiers at Mount Washington, and they knew a little bit of the history, but it would be really nice to kind of relay some of that history and start to use it again a little bit more now that all the garbagey stuff is gone, to make it kind of a new beginning for it, I guess. So thank you so much for all your work.
Thank you.
Director Hillian.
Thanks, Chair. Just to give notice that I'd be prepared to bring a motion forward next time around that we write to the province to request that appropriate signage be put up, as well as some acknowledgement for the cleanup effort.
Okay. Thank you. Director Arbor?
Why don't we do the motion now for a letter, and I'll second it?
Well, we can because of a request, yeah. So a notice of motion for the next meeting, yeah. Okay,
Well,
thank you very much.
One other quick thing. We work very closely with Comox First Nations and band leader Nicole Rempel, and they are absolutely delighted that all the hydro poles are gone, the hydro lines and stuff like that. So they are very, very pleased with what's happened up there. And the other thing I mentioned to Jake here, we're leaving you the thumb drive as a historical document as such for you guys to have, and we'll send you a bill for that later.
Wonderful, thank you.
Again, thank you very much for the funding, because it was much appreciated. It did help us along and get the project moving, because BC Parks wasn't going to do it, and it's certainly great that the regional district stepped up and helped us fund it. Thank you.
Thanks again, yes. So all in favor of receipt? And that's carried, and we'll go on to the next delegation, the Comox Valley Ground Search and Rescue. Paul Berry. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I also have Bronwyn Beadle here as our treasurer. Thought she may have some questions she might be able to answer later on. So it's a real privilege to be able to come and speak with you today to represent the men and women of Comox Valley Ground Search and Rescue. I usually try to start to explain who we're not and what we don't do. So search and rescue across Canada really has three elements: the air, the water, and the ground. Marine search and rescue is the responsibility of the Canadian Coast Guard. Air, so downed aircraft, the responsibility of National Defence, and the map just represents really the areas both off the coast and the major lakes that are responsibility of the Coast Guard, as well as National Defence. We're very fortunate that we have 442 here to assist with the air element. Our responsibility is ground inland search and rescue, and this is a responsibility, provincial responsibility, and we support the police jurisdiction in this area, so the RCMP, and a search really is a missing persons investigation. As such, there are a lot of rules and a lot of details that we need to follow to ensure the work we do is done to the same standard that the RCMP would expect. We are a partner organization of the Comox Valley Emergency Program, and we have been very, very fortunate to be supported by the Comox Valley Regional District over the last many, many years, and to be able to be partnered in the same facility with the other members of this organization. We work very, very closely together, and I think we have a model that works compared to many other emergency organizations across the province. So we respond to callouts or taskings from Emergency Management BC. The Emergency Coordination Centre is located in Victoria. This coordination centre responds to everything from a rabid raccoon to oil spills to search and rescue events. It's a very, very busy call centre. And we can be tasked by the organizations that you see on the screen. Predominantly, it is the RCMP that we work for, but probably our second largest response is with BC Ambulance, because we really are the first responders in the backcountry. But each of those other organizations can request ground search and rescue support. Currently, we have about 50, we like to refer to them as unpaid professionals, who commit over 20,000 hours each year. We provide a wide variety of services, and we will talk to those throughout this presentation. and we come from a very, very diverse background. And you can see some of them listed there. We have a young physician who's just joined the team, 24 years old. Makes me feel really old, but a really wide range of individuals who make up this team. And we're much more than a team because of the nature of the work and the amount that we are together in training. We're very, very much a family in this community as well. That image is of our CDFL team, which is Class D fixed line. We also refer to it as dope on a rope. So this is rescuers suspended below a helicopter, and we're lifting a woman out of a riverbed with a very badly fractured ankle. We provide each of these services throughout our community and in support of communities both to the north and south and throughout the province. The image of the flooding is downtown Courtenay. Now, this is probably not a very good image, so I'll move to this one. What we've seen across the province and here as well is a significant increase, and you can just see the way the graphs are trending upwards. The top graph indicates ground search. So over this data, if I go back, really starts at 2007 and it projects up into 2021. You can see, I think in 2007, is that, how many calls is that, the bottom brown one? 13 calls, and we're projected at over 60 into 2021. We're already actually more than exceeding some of those projections. Partly because more and more people are out enjoying areas like Forbidden Plateau, and that's what we want to see. We want to see members of our communities out enjoying the backcountry, recreating far more than they used to, and as a result, bad things can happen to good people, even if they're well prepared. Search operations really are the backbone of what we do. And Vancouver Island is very much the Bermuda Triangle of lost persons. There are more large-scale searches on Vancouver Island than really any other part of the province. This little lost Lachlan. He disappeared from his home in Union Bay 3 summers ago, 4 years old, and was located the following morning, about 11 o'clock. We had every search team from Vancouver Island and teams from as far away as Chilliwack on the ground to find him that morning, successfully. When we went back to interview him and to interview him and his family, that little bicycle that he disappeared on was tied by a rope and 35 feet up in a tree. He was 7.5 kilometers. He was on an adventure to go find where the cougars lived. Because our team has developed an expertise in large-scale search operations, this is just an example of the CVRD search of a number of years ago. 22 SAR teams from throughout the province over 10 operational periods, so 10 night and day, and with as many as 11 helicopters operating. Significant logistics are required to have that many people on the ground and being deployed into the field on a regular basis. Because we've developed that expertise and developed a particular expertise around lost person behavior, our team is recognized as really the go-to team for large-scale search in the province, and as a result, we are deployed to other locations as well. And this is very normal for SAR teams across the province to provide support to their neighboring communities. So this was our command team being deployed to Smithers for a large-scale search for a First Nations mushroom picker. This was us last year heading to Merritt for the Ben Tyner search. This was the lead hand from the Nicola Valley Ranch who disappeared under suspicious circumstances. We are now the second team in the province to use helicopter and a hoisting program, very similar to what 442 would be involved in, and we partnered with Campbell River to do this. It gives another rescue resource, a very much needed rescue resource here on the island. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the other disciplines. Swiftwater rescue. We have in the past had a significant number of swiftwater operations on a yearly basis. We've seen a significant decline in these, partially because we just have less water in the rivers during the summers. This again is the Sylvia app search. So high angle rope, you can see the nature of the terrain that we were involved in on that search. Every crevasse at the top of Castle Craig was searched over that 10 operational period of time. Sylvia was never located. Virtually everything that Sylvia took with her up into the mountains was located, but no sign of her. We have 2 active ski areas on Vancouver Island, Mount Washington being one, and the backcountry beyond it into the park, as well as Mount Cain. Camel River Search and Rescue and Comox Valley maintain organized avalanche response teams to be able to respond, and we possess the only CARDA or avalanche dog on the island as well. Not only have we developed expertise in large-scale search operations and the management of those, we have quite a cadre, probably the largest cadre of provincial-level instructors in a number of disciplines, certainly in search management and lost person behavior, but also in tracking and in rope rescue. We also have the largest number of canine, civilian canine assets of any team in the province, currently with 3 certified and a 4th in training. And I'm happy to say that it has been civilian search dogs who have been responsible for locating a number of lost Alzheimer's subjects on the island here over the last few months, where even the RCMP dogs were not able to pick up a scent. And all of those were live finds, which is a good news story. Medical evacuation. With the onset of certainly the number of individuals who are mountain biking in the valley, we endeavored a number of years ago to increase the level of first aid for all of our team members. Emergency Management BC's criteria for first aid is a basic 8-hour first aid course, which really provides you the ability to say this is bad and put a Band-Aid on it and not much beyond. Currently, all of our members have a minimum 40-hour wilderness first aid, and many have an 80-hour wilderness first aid, as well as advanced medical protocols. So we can now provide pain medications to subjects in the field.
You only have about a minute left.
Okay. Light Urban Search and Rescue, we are the only team on Vancouver Island that engages in light urban search and rescue, and we saw this need because of the nature of the risk that we have in the valley. Not only do we conduct operations, we also have a significant prevention program and do outreach in for both youth and adults. I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. So over the last number of years, we had three significant goals we wanted to work towards. One was increasing the professionalism of the team, increasing our response readiness so that when that pager went off, we were able to arrive at the building, load into vehicles, and respond in a timely manner. We have met that goal. We have 3 Code 3 vehicles and are able to respond very, very quickly without having to use private vehicles, and we have increased our first aid capabilities throughout. As we look to the future, we very much have been working alongside our parent organization, the BC Search and Rescue Association, to secure predictable long-term funding that is within a provincial budget. For as long as I can remember, we have been supported through gaming funds and other fundraising efforts, both locally and provincially. And it's time for that to change. Second, because we are the first responders in the backcountry, we would really like to see us recognized as legitimate first responders alongside other first responders. Currently, other first responders receive support for things like PTSD. Ground SAR teams do not. And finally, we've been working hand in hand with your emergency program and with the regional district to look at how and when we are going to reside in a permanent home. We currently lease a facility. It has been an excellent facility for us and for all the partners within our organization. But it is something that over the next 5 years, we're going to be working hard to ensure that we don't have to look at it year by year or lease by lease. Last year, the rent increased by about a third, and that's not a hit that a volunteer organization wants to take on a regular basis. Any questions?
Yes, we do. Director Grant?
How big a space do you guys need?
I think the current space is about 5,500 square feet. That gives us 4 vehicle bays and allows us to house everything. So it's actually a pretty ideal space.
Okay, so that would work. Okay,
Absolutely.
Good. Thanks.
And Director Cole-Hamilton?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for your presentation and for just keeping the backcountry safer for people.
Welcome.
One of my barber is Craig, one of the guys who works with you, and when getting my hair cut, I often get hair-raising tales of the work that's done. But and I guess I was wondering, why are you guys not considered legitimate first responders? And is there anything we can do in terms of a letter of support to change that determination?
Part of it is how we're defined.
Mm-hmm.
We're defined by Emergency Management BC to provide pre-hospital care, like BC Ambulance, but have not had all of the same structures that those other formal agencies have. So it is something we're lobbying hard to attain.
Okay. Well, I can't speak for the board of directors here, but if there's anything we can do, hopefully we can, a letter of support or anything like that, hopefully that's something we can discuss here at this table.
Thank you.
Director Frisch?
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and certainly thanks for all the work you guys do. I hope to never need you to help out. And so about funding, other places in the world, they have different funding models, obviously, than you. Do you know what other funding models there are available?
Certainly, it's a topic of discussion every time someone is lost in the backcountry. Currently, we're part of the Public Safety Lifeline, and as a result, members of the public shouldn't expect that they're going to be charged for our services. When someone is out of bounds on a ski hill, the ski hill has the opportunity to pull their certificate or charge for their services. But very much in search and rescue, we would prefer not to see that, because we would rather prefer that someone calls for us and we recover them or rescue them alive than recover them deceased.
Yeah, and my understanding is that, there is that idea of insurance if you're going in the backcountry for rescue, but there are also other countries that just simply fund it, like any emergency service.
Yes, yeah. And there are jurisdictions where things like hunting licenses, fishing license, those sorts of things go to fund.
Right.
It's not something the province has done at this point.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the presentation.
Welcome.
Great, thank you so much. You provided some valuable insight into what your organization does.
Good.
Thanks. All in favor of receipt?
Thanks.
That's carried. So moving on to reports, Committee of the Whole, October 29th. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. And Electoral Area Service Committee, November 4th. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. And I'll ask Jake to read recommendation 1.
Thank you. Recommendation 1 from the Electoral Area Services Committee is for a development variance permit to increase the maximum height of a fence in the 1600 block of Ryan Road East.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Oh, sorry, you're going to read it.
Recommendation 2 is also for a development variance permit to reduce lot line setbacks to permit the conversion of an accessory building to a secondary dwelling at 4696 Montrose Drive.
And is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
And recommendation 3 is provides for the referral to external agencies of a rezoning application for an unaddressed property located adjacent to the Island Highway and Miracle Beach Drive in electoral area C.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Recommendation 4 provides for a financial plan amendment for a completed project to improve fire flows along Gartley and Gartley Point roads.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Recommendation 5 is another financial plan amendment, this time associated with the conversion project for Sandwick from independent water service to a CVRD service.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Recommendation 6 provides direction to delay decisions concerning the provision of a bulk water service on Denman Island, pending further information.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
And recommendation 7 relates to the previous matter and proposes that the Comox First Nation be apprised of the water service delivery challenges on Denman Island.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Recommendation 8 provides for a commitment of excess community funds to a bridge project in the Morrison Creek Conservation Area.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
And recommendation 9 is a $10,000 grant and aid for the Oyster River Enhancement Society.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. So we move on to Sewage Commission of November 5th.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Comox Valley Water Committee, November 5th. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And the Committee of the Whole, November 5th.
Move receipt.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll ask Jake to read it again.
Recommendation 1 from the Committee of the Whole is to direct staff to prepare a report on the rental of the exhibition grounds and concerns specifically from the farmers market.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And we already did the Black Creek Oyster Bay Service Committee and the parcel tax.
I think we're just on number 7, Committee of the Whole.
Oh. Sorry. Oh, yeah, Committee of the Whole. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Now we move forward to G2. Yes. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And we're on to bylaw number 596. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Bylaw 597, Royston Water Service Regulation.
Move adoption.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And bylaw number 598.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And on to new business, which I have some things to say. Thank you. So, we all received the FCM updates, newsletters that go out, and one of the most recent ones, they said how there was a Western Economic Solutions Task Force, and they listed out the people who would be on this task force, said that it would address some of the issues that the federal government is dealing with, basically the Wexit movement and the oil sector downturn. And in the members didn't include anyone from BC except for the VP of the board, so he was an ex officio on there. So I discussed with Director Grieve about asking for more membership and a discussion about BC's interest, because we obviously also do rely on the oil sector. I personally live in a neighborhood with lots of Alberta license plates, and it's been affectionately named Little Alberta. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people that rely on it here. And we also have a resource-based economy on forestry, which has also experienced a downturn. And so I think we really need to have BC's voice at this table and any discussion around basically a transition economy away from the resource sector. So that's what this letter is about. Yes, that would be great. Oh, right. Yeah. Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Mike, if that's okay. Yeah, I just, sorry, I don't know a lot about it. What is the membership like, and how many members are there, and where are the other members from?
I don't have the
in general.
Yeah, I don't have the list in front of me, but there's basically 2 members from Alberta,
Right.
2 from Saskatchewan, 2 from Manitoba.
Okay.
And it is called the Western. Yeah, the acronym is WEST. So yeah,
Yeah.
it would be nice to have more representation from BC.
Well, thanks for bringing it forward.
Yeah, thank you. Director Arbour.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I did review the list of membership. It is a bit much. That Wexit, that Western, and yet we have an entire province and coast that's not represented at the table other than Mr. Fritzl. Further to your letter, I would almost encourage us to have discussions with AVICC. I think we should just flood that committee with letters from coastal municipal leaders to say that that's unacceptable, and also each have our own. I'm committed to write a letter myself to talk about substantive issues in there. I do not like how Western Canada is being currently characterized, and I was surprised that FCM did not address that. I was also sent some correspondence by Mr. Grieve, so there's some efforts. We're not. I guess this is first mover letter, but there's a recognition out there that we are being left out, and so I think at least maybe copying such letter to AVICC and maybe carrying on other conversations about us sending letters to the committee would be good. Thank you. Thanks for that initiative.
Thank you. And alternate director Schofield.
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarification, I'm curious. Part of the reason I'm here today is because Edwin is in Ottawa with FCM. So this idea, is this something that Edwin has communicated from FCM and asked us to act on, or are we empowering him to vocalize this in Ottawa while he's still there? I'm not exactly sure whether their proceedings are completed as of today or not.
Yes, my discussions with him were before he left, so I am hoping that he is championing our cause there. Yeah.
So this could kind of be chasing after something he's already acting upon in a way.
Yes.
Okay.
Director Arbour?
Yeah, just I was just going to point out for Dr. Frisch, actually they did attach the communique to this, so you can see the list of who's on the committee on page 3 in our package. And to alternate director Scoville, whether he's there or not, I think it would need to go through this board for us to send a letter. So I know Mr. Grieve, Dr. Grieve thinks alike on this issue. So anyways, I'd be glad to. I think I don't want to beat Dr. Hellion to the motion. But. Oh, we got to receive it still. Sorry, it's on receipt. I'm totally out of sorts today. Sorry.
Okay, all in favor of receipt? Any
Requested action.
Okay, Director Frisch?
Well, is there any interest, and maybe I missed it, is there any interest in CCing other regional districts on this?
Sorry, go ahead, Director Arbour.
What's that? Yeah. Yeah, for today, at least copying AVICC. And just because I'm being creative right now, and the climate caucus that Director Cole Hamilton and yourself have been sitting on, so that we raise awareness that there might be more coming and sent to FCM.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, moving on to my next letter, or issue. Thank you. So this is about the Climate Leadership Steering Committee, and Director Cole Hamilton has been the alternate for this committee, but I would like to propose that he become the appointee on the committee as I've taken the chair position, and I feel that he could give more attention to this committee than I can at this moment. So that is what this requested action is about. So I'll just go all in favor of receipt first. And that's-
Second. And will you remain on as the alternate?
Yes. And so all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. All in favor? Carried.